Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rock and Roll Brunch episode number 15. Today we're talking about Olivia Rodrigo giving songwriting credits to Paramore. I got through it. And we're also going to be talking about the latest from the Bronx. All that plus much more, all on today's show. Yeah, good morning indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rock and Roll Brunch podcast. My name is Josh Marcanti. I'll be your host today. With me, as always, are the tired yet ready to roll duo, Chris Marcanti and Dana Erbach. Chris, how are you this morning, buddy?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad I'm going to start the podcast with you saying good morning indeed.
Perfect. Dane, how you doing this morning, buddy?
I think I'm doing okay.
Good. I saw you recording some drums.
Yes.
Over at Way Sound Studios. How did that go?
That
what
was
were
great.
you recording? What were you recording drums from?
We're recording some Grave Danger songs that I had been waiting too long to record. So
How many songs did you do?
just the two.
Damn it.
Yeah. I will say that I very much enjoy recording with Justin at Way Sound because
He's the best.
I don't know. He just makes it feel like you're recording with your patient friend instead of like some stressed out like engineer or something. Like it's like, God damn it, you need another take, you know, like I don't know, I needed a lot of takes. So he was chill and it was good and we got it done on time and everything was good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we recorded at that weird studio in Chicago with the weird engineer? Who's probably, I got to imagine that guy's dead. But the every time we'd be like, hey man, should we do another one? And he'd be like, I don't know.
Well, go with it.
If you want to.
He said something. I'll never forget. He said something like we were talking about pop punk, and he's like, "Yeah, that's pop punk." And I go, like this, right? And he goes, "Sure." And I go, "What do you think about this?" And he's like, it's there." And I'm like,
Oh my gosh. Which weird studio are we talking about? We're
This
talking
was
about that first one that we recorded
The
at,
first
right?
one.
Yeah.
the one that had no sign on the door.
Yeah, that was a little sketchy.
We were not actually sure if we were in the right spot.
Yeah, and I liked recording there because it was like a weird place, but it felt cool. But then I also discovered all of these like reels of like really classic albums by these old bands that apparently had recorded there, and I was like, oh, this is real cool.
This is like a legit studio.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, I remember that feeling of like, are we doing this right? Should we be caring this much? Maybe, you know, does this guy care as much as we do? What do we, you know? But I guess if you're being paid to just be there and press record and push things together, like you're just gonna be like, hey, I'm here for the ride, man.
Well, years later, I saw him sound asleep at a stoplight. That's not a joke. That's not a joke.
Wow.
I saw him sound asleep at a stoplight.
He was nodding off from the high.
I have no idea why he was nodding off, why he was asleep middle of the day. He was sound asleep at a stoplight.
Yeah, I hope he's alive. Semaphore Records.
Oh, that's the name of the place.
Chris, why don't you give us a quick Google while I ask Dane what he's been jamming lately? Dane, what you been jamming lately?
I have been jamming just recently. Well, I've spent the past 2 weeks pretty much only listening to the new Turnstile record, which is really good in a way that's hard for me to explain because I've never really gotten into Turnstile. I never hopped on that train, so this is my first real record getting into them, and I don't know. Some of it reminds me of like an old 90s Living Color album, like the way there's this crazy reverb on all the vocals, but all the drums and guitars are like not, and there's some of the songs have crazy like retro sounding drums, and I don't know, it's wild. It's fun. I also spent yesterday and the day before though listening to a lot of the new Andrew WK record.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really good, but I think a lot of just them feel just like 8-minute epic songs that are like long ballads and like long piano metal ballads. And I've also been listening to a lot of the new. I've listened a lot to the new Sincere Engineer record, which I think we should review.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I was listening to some podcast the other day. Oh, it was with Bert Kreischer, and he was talking about how he met Andrew WK and and like he was like, oh, Angie, and Bert Kreischer's a huge drinker, and he met him and he was like, oh, let's party, and Andrew WK is like, nah, I got a show tomorrow, and he's like, huh, aren't you the party guy? Chris, what have you been jamming lately?
I've been jamming the fact that the last post on Facebook for Semaphore was 2010, so I don't think they're it's a studio much
not
anymore.
Operating anymore.
Wait, when did we record? 2008?
It had to have been right around the corner. Yeah,
Chris, in my head, correct me if I'm wrong. In my head, that the guy who recorded us occupies a brain space of the guy who just died from Tiger King. You saw
for
Tiger.
sure.
They're the same guy. They're the same guy. Is that is that accurate at all?
I was hoping that they would have pictures of him, and that that would crack a nugget of memory, but they didn't.
Listeners, check out Semaphore Records. May or may not be around in Chicago anymore.
Apparently, it was known as like a metal studio. Like a lot of metal bands would record there. So
interesting.
Not us.
So what you been jamming lately?
Lately, I have gone, since the weather has made a turn, I have gone further back in some older catalogs of music, one of which includes Black Sails in the Sunset by AFI.
Oh.
It's the right time of year.
What's that?
It's the right time of year.
Yeah. It's that's been a lot of fun. I also listened to, I posted about it, Restorations.
Right time of year for them too.
Yeah. I haven't hit Polar Bear Club, but I was also checking out some of the stuff that Jim had recommended, like Rustin Kelly.
Yep.
Very country. Oh, also Mercy Music. I don't know if you guys have jammed that at all, but the record they put out a record last year, I think it was, and it passed me by for whatever reason, so I've been jamming that. But a lot of like Illusion of Safety, Thrice, and stuff like that.
Cool.
What about yourself, Josh?
My crew watched Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time, so it's been a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy style music, songs like the what is it, Electric Light Orchestra, like diving into those guys and being like, what's going on here? They call the Mr. Blue Sky the Groot song in my house. So
it's a good song though.
It's a great song, and it's kind of interesting how it's just like ballads of psychedelic 70s rock and roll.
Have you gotten into the what's that soundtrack? Nope, don't remember.
Oh, cool, man. Cool. Really cool.
Shoot, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, wait to add to the conversation.
Right, I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. Here we are.
So it's.
I was gonna say I went through an Electric Light Orchestra phase in college.
Funny.
Yeah. So
I have like 4 ELO records, because of my wife's stepdad. He like dropped off all these vinyl, and so then every time he comes over, we end up listening to just ELO.
You guys get stoned in the back and
kind of. Yeah, that's kind of what happens.
Right on, dude. Right on, no judgy. So it's a lot of Guardians music, a lot of just
Oh, Xanadu. That's what I was going to say.
Xanadu. Oh, yeah. No.
You should. I
know what you're talking about.
That's the next step, though, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Well, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the show. Today we are talking Olivia Rodrigo adding Paramore to songwriting credits on her song "Good for You." This one's brought to us by the good folks at Variety. I couldn't do another one from Rolling Stone. I just couldn't do another one from Rolling Stone.
We also talked about that article from what's the other the article?
I know what you're talking.
The Dazed, which I thought was going to be a sketchy source and ended up being a really in-depth article.
Yeah, I actually stole some of their questions for the show today. So.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're basically talking about interpolation as a songwriting technique versus sampling or remixes and stuff like that. But effectively, Olivia Rodrigo did some interpolation of the.
You practiced that word before this podcast.
Not only practice it,
guys,
but
I'm a podcast host.
It definitely sounds like Job saying circumvent.
So we're gonna circumvent that.
I come across someone that's going to circumvent the law.
And yeah, so effectively she had to give songwriting credits to Paramore and ended up paying, let's call it millions of dollars.
Or will be millions of dollars. Very soon,
yeah. I like to do some pull quotes. So there was one in the article. It said it's hard to give an exact value because there really are a lot of variables, but in public performance alone, it's a 7-figure number ranging from 1.2 million to probably north of 2 in the amount of spins, how long it's been on the radio, and how many formats it got play from, said a high-ranking executive at a large indie publisher. I come from in these most recent years, Chris and I come from a background where it wasn't even interpolation; it was straight stealing, and that's how artists got popular. Like if you dive into the music of the 50s and 60s, I mean, you can literally hear the same version. It's not even a cover; it wouldn't be covered under fair use. It is a straight copy, and then Elvis made millions off the copy, and nobody said anything. Where are you guys at on the big?
It's funny.
Yeah, I know. On the big interpolation argument, that the post blurred lines world that we live in right now, where it seems like it. I was reading another article that said songwriters are hesitant now because it's like you're not even sure if what you're doing is considered interpolation, or if you're going to get sued for that, or et cetera, et cetera. So
I have a quick question before we dive into the current example. We are talking about Elvis. Did he why did he get away with that? Is it just racism that he got away with it?
Yeah.
Or is there something else going on there?
Yeah, racism.
Yeah, I also think it's size of artists. I think he would be able to just do whatever he wanted, but it's not many people would be.
Literally not limited to Elvis. It was everybody from that period. I mean, I am shocked how often I find hey, this is the song. Like the Beatles would do straight rips of other songs, and it would be like, oh, the Beatles made a lot of money off it, and the original artist, you saw in 2021, you really have to dig to find who the original person was.
I think that's weird though, because I feel like there's also a culture in the beginning of rock and roll, especially in the 60s and stuff, where covering each other's music was just sort of normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Johnny Cash would record all these old country tunes that were old mountain classics and stuff, and then sprinkle in a few of his own songs to fill an LP. But I don't know. I guess I always figured that was just sort of part of the culture. But I guess now I'm starting to think well, you're right. Elvis stole a bunch of songs from a bunch of rhythm and blues dudes from the 40s that were still singing in juke joints in the South at the time. And
yes, that went hungry while he was the biggest rock and roll star in the world. But I mean, there's Elvis Costello was mentioned in the article as well. And it looks like I did not pull that quote, but Elvis Costello was also had some interpolation done on one of her other songs, which is part of the conversation I actually wanted to bring up more than that, but where he didn't care. He was like, yeah, that's rock and roll, so it was interesting to hear from an older generation who was like, yeah.
Wait, another Olivia Rodrigo song?
Oh, yeah.
From Sour?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's part of the conversation, too, is that...
This wasn't the only ones either.
No, she had...
About Taylor Swift?
Right, the Taylor Swift one I knew about. And I had seen the headline for Elvis Costello, but I didn't click on it because it was Olivia Rodrigo.
So the question I guess I have for you guys is where are we at? How do we feel about we're introducing the music to a previous generation, or are we just straight copying and those people deserve money as well? Chris, you look like you got some angry comment about it.
It's probably going to be angry. That sounds on brand.
That sounds on brand. That is on brand. That is on definitely on brand. It's a tough question. If I'm being perfectly honest, the idea that people should be paid for their intellectual properties seems like a reasonable assertion to make. This is somebody's hook, and so much so that there are many, many people that realize it's part of an Elvis Costello song or a Taylor Swift song. It's not subtle by any means, enough that thousands of people are able to distinguish it. But the other part of it is too, like, yeah, I mean, when we wrote originals, like, we were stealing stuff from other people and building on it and doing different things like that.
But
like,
were we stealing from other people, or did we hear like a hook and we were like, let's do something close to that? Like,
what's funny is like I can point to God bless it, Flash or something like that. That literally the guitar part is from a Motion City soundtrack song. Like I took it from a Motion City song.
well, all right then.
we'll have to pay them royalties in the future, I'm sure. But
from all the streams,
to all the streams,
it's getting so popular. You know,
to all the streams, like everything we do. But yeah, it's a tough needle to thread of like what's reasonable and what's not reasonable to do. But,
I mean, you even said, you know, to the point of like, hey, we took this one guitar part from this one song, and it's like, you know, I think they mentioned in the article that no real music is original anymore. Nothing is created in a vacuum. You didn't come out of the womb and come up with riffs and parts and stuff like that. You are absorbing that from all music that you hear everywhere, whether you realize it or not. So that's the question. Should artists be, even though no music is created in a vacuum, is like, well, that has the same vibe. You know, they talk about vibe in the article. That has the same vibe as the song. So, you know, we're going to sue you. Or should we just head that off at the pass and go, yeah, like I think they mentioned in this article where Olivia contacted Paramore's camp ahead of time and said, hey, we kind of stole this song.
That's
the interesting part.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'm thinking is kind of like we're talking about, because I disagree when people make the argument that like there's nothing original anymore. I honestly think that there's plenty of original stuff out there. Original stuff sometimes is just weird and people don't like it. The real truth is like there's no original pop anymore, because pop stuff has to like literally follow a certain kind of formula and fit into a certain kind of box in order for it to be considered sellable. And if it doesn't fit in that box, it's not ever going to, I mean, it's never going to leave the songwriting session that people are sitting around a hotel, like, you know, that, you know, for like a long weekend writing songs and stuff. It'll just never make the cut. So in some ways, we can't really fault any pop artist for kind of ripping off another pop artist. The thing that I think it'd be subconsciously, or, you know, like accidentally,
full consciously?
No, it's the full conscious thing that I think is fascinating. It's when we write a song like, sounds a lot like Misery Business. Well, let's just, I know, you know, I follow Haley on Instagram. Let me just send her a DM and let her know. Like her and I saw each other at the MTV Video Awards a couple years ago, and we'll just ask each other and see if she's chill with it, and maybe she'll be chill with it.
So,
and
that sounds like a guy.
Olivia Rodrigo.
They'll be so she'll be so chill. No,
it's dope.
No cap. You know,
no, it'll be sick, man. Don't worry about it. The point is like once you know, you're like, okay, that one we kind of took from Elvis Costello. Like I know that Taylor Swift inspired her. This particular song of Taylor Swift's inspired her. But at a certain point, this is starting to sound like a record of rip-offs. Like they actually went into it intentionally.
That's my point.
Like, here's a bunch of songs. We think they're pretty good. They just kind of sound like a bunch of other songs that we wrote by other famous artists.
Right.
Do we go with these, or should we? I mean, but all pop, you can't be original anymore, so no one will get mad at us because nothing's original.
It seems like there's like a fine line between like reaching out ahead of time and trying to get away with it. Like, I think in the Taylor Swift version, there was, you know, it had to do with the way she performed her bridge was similar to the way Taylor Swift performed a bridge, and Olivia had mentioned ahead of time that she found, like you said, inspiration from Taylor Swift. But then, like, you know, if you don't reach out ahead of time, it's just like, we're just trying to get away with that. We're just trying to, you know, sneak one past you.
Like the Blurred Lines guys that were like, they proactively sued the Marvin Gaye estate before they got sued for copyright infringement in an attempt to try and get in front of what they knew was going to be a lawsuit on copyright
infringement. They that second article you sent out, Chris, which I'll link for the show. I forget the exact title, but he had been mentioning. He had said that there's almost like a post Blurred Lines world, and they thought that maybe some of this was subsiding, but now with the recent Katy Perry and Led Zeppelin stuff that's been going on, how it's like, oh no, this is here to stay. This is the new the way that people will seek it out. So my question is to you, are you more in the Elvis Costello camp, where, by the way, I did pull the quote. I just had it. I had it hidden. He said,
"No one's arguing whether or not you have a quote."
But I pulled the quote. I want you to know
you're not
this.
getting credit for it.
He said, "This is fine by me. This is how rock and roll works. You take the broken pieces of another thrill and make a brand new toy." And that's what I did. And that's exactly right. Like, that's what he did. So are you in the Elvis Costello camp where, like, yeah, fuck it? Or are you in the, Paramore camp where it's, give me my money?
I'm almost in the Elvis Costello camp just because he called it another thrill.
Yeah.
For some reason, I saw that language and I was like, good for you.
Yeah, right.
I think at the end of the day, I'm in the Elvis Costello camp. But because, like, especially, I guess, to Dane's point, and for some reason felt like an attack personally, but to
I bet
pop
it was.
music,
Look at him. It was a personal attack, buddy.
He was up.
He's still team
He
Josh.
texted me before the show and said, "This is going to get ugly."
He said, "I'm still team Josh." Is that what he said in the text?
He did. He did.
He just warned you.
I think I'm in the Elvis Costello camp only because, like, I don't necessarily believe it's only in pop music, but like I think it's okay to take parts from other musicians and other bands and other songs and try and make something new. Like, I gotta be honest with you, this Olivia Rodrigo song I've heard a couple times, just like whatever on the radio, and
good for you.
I was like, oh, this song sounds like another song, but I don't think it ever struck me to be like, you have to make sure Paramore gets paid for, like, it's a different song. It's, and it's made popular in a different way in a different time with a different crowd. Like, that all seems like a good enough reason to me not to be like, you need to make sure, everybody that's around this gets paid correctly. I don't know. It just seems like a thing of like, yeah, everybody takes things from other people and that's okay. Like, it's okay to have creativity be based, like, by getting nuggets of, like, inspiration from other songs. I don't know. That seems okay to me.
I think just real quickly to add on to that, we also live in a time where, like, when people notice, like, that a song does sound similar, they're just gonna go cuckoo bananas and write a like a 5,000 word think piece on Medium about it, hoping to fish it to Rolling Stone, or just like an 18 like threaded tweet kind of thing where like, or an 18 tweet thread where like they're just gonna rant and stuff because they're gonna hope for the retweets. So there's some like social capital that comes out of being the one that bitches about this.
It's interesting.
I immediately went to YouTube because I was like, what song? Like, in the article, I feel like it didn't address the fact that this specific song by Olivia Rodrigo was Misery Business. So I went to YouTube and was like, what song is Olivia Rodrigo
what are we talking about?
Stealing here? And I mean, to your point, Dane, it's like page after page after page after page after page of people going like, you need to check this out. This is what's going on here. And it's like mashups.
Just imagine what's happening on TikTok. Like, I'm sure there's like a ton of TikTok rants about this too. Yeah. And it's just adding more. It's getting people more clicks. There's probably getting some ad money in it. And it's getting more follows and more views. And I mean, it's just.
And that's what I think is interesting too, is the rise in these kinds of cases, in these kind of deep dives, and and the rise of social media, where I gotta talk about something. So here, let me talk about how these songs are the same. Bitch, they've been doing it for 80 years. Yeah, Dane, you didn't give your opinion. I mean, imagine one of your favorite artists truly gets like, ripped off in a very obvious way. Wouldn't you want representation for one of your favorite bands or one of your favorite guys?
Yeah, I think I differ from Chris a little bit. Although I think I think I agree in a big way with him and Elvis Costello. No, because I do think like he's right on when he says like pop music isn't the only one that's not original. Like rock music and hip hop is built on sampling, right? Hip hop is the whole point of hip hop is sometimes just a call back to something else, right?
Right.
I think though that there's a difference between a subconscious like take this riff, change the key, slow it down kind of thing. A drawing inspiration, like I really like the vibe of this song. Let's use the same drum beat, but let's do something else. You know, I think there's a difference between that and being like, well, let's write Misery Business only a pop version so that the choruses are real down low and it's got this like funky bass part, and then we'll just rip off the chorus. Like, and I don't think that's what the songwriting meeting was about, and I don't think that's what the mission was, but it does feel intentional. Like somebody's like, all right, hold on, let me pull up Misery Business. I really like the hook in that song.
Has to be.
Now let's do our own version of that. How do we do? You know, I could imagine two people in a hotel room singing along to the Misery Business and subtly changing the melody over and over again until like that's the one, that's the hook that we want for our song.
I feel like this is the Dane, you're gonna know what this is called, the something paradigm or whatever, where you're talking
the Mandela effect you're talking about.
No,
continue.
Go on. If you change,
are you sure?
Every board on a ship one at a time, is it still the same ship?
I don't know what it's called. I know what you're talking about, though.
I'm a Chris. I keep talking. I got you, Chris. Keep talking.
It's like one of those hypothetical scenario kind of things.
You've done nothing but fail me so far, so I'm glad you're going to Google it. Mandela effect?
Screw you, dude. The one with the ship of Theseus you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what it is.
How about
you Google it?
You kiss my ass.
To the point is to say, like, let's take this guitar riff and put Olivia Rodrigo over the top of it. Isn't the same song anymore? Do you feel someone deserves to be paid $2 million off of doing that?
Well, so that's the question ultimately comes down to. And do I think that a songwriter shouldn't be like, I mean, and I know I'm creating an imagined scenario in my head, but I really do think Olivia Rodrigo came into a songwriting session. I mean, let's remember, I don't want to like shit on her. She's probably a great songwriter.
You'd love her music.
But she's also like known for being a Disney star. And like, so I don't know what her songwriting credentials are, or if she was just a Muppet for like a Disney show for a while. So, but she may have come in and said, all right, today I really want to write a song like this, Holds Up Deja. Wait, the song by, her song is called Deja Vu. The Taylor Swift song was called something else. I don't remember what it was called. Yeah. But I really love this song. Let's write a song like this. And the guy who's getting paid's like, yeah, whatever. Like
whatever, dude.
Semaphore guy's like, whatever, let's do it.
All right, cool, let's do it.
You know, and so he's getting paid either way, and hopefully getting paid even more, you know, later on. So he doesn't really care. I just can imagine, like, to me, it feels weird if an artist is like really intentionally saying, "I want this song. Let's make our own version of this song." I don't know if that means that that Paramore should get paid for it. I mean, I don't necessarily think that, like, inspiring an artist or coming up with a hook that, you know, is... I don't think this is blurred lines. You know what I mean? Where when you hear blurred lines, you're like, oh. I was a lot like Chris, that I had to flip back and forth between the songs to just even hear the way the melody kind of was related to each other. But to me, I don't necessarily know if somebody deserves credit for inspiring an artist. I just think like, hey, songwriter, like pull something out of your subconsciousness or out of thin air instead of literally like singing along to the Paramore song.
Yeah, I think you're.
Go ahead.
I was to say, I think you're probably right in that. Although I truly don't know if I see anything wrong with being like, here's the exact chords, melody, and tempo of a song, and I'd like to sing a different different verse over that or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. I really don't. Like if someone's like, here's this song, now I'm gonna sing over the top of it. It's not a cover of the song. So like if you identify the extremes of like we're writing our own or we're doing an exact cover, it's certainly more towards the exact cover end of the spectrum. But I just don't know if there's anything wrong with being like, we're going to take this exact verse and we're going to just sing our version over it. Like, I just don't know if there's anything wrong.
I wonder if there's any like professional songwriter or professional music business person who would come in here and call us like absolute morons for thinking this way. Like, I agree with you guys that like, and I wonder how much of that is like our punk rock mentality. Like, no, you just, rock and roll, man. You just take from. But I wonder if like how much an actual business person would come in and be like, guys, what you're missing is the writing staff who originally created this song and who are, they're not the millionaires. They're the 100,000aires who are you're actually stealing money from them, or I would be curious to hear somebody's perspective like that goes like, guys, people have to get paid, appropriately.
There's somebody other than Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, Elvis Costello, and Paramore that's involved in this process.
Totally. Like maybe there's, this has to be the case, but there has to be much smaller artists that she ripped off that like take a lot more digging to actually find out who it was that like absolutely should be getting paid, when she's making millions and they're, in relative
end. I think that's what the first article does really well is it tries to break down and make a best guess as to how much this song, which I'd never heard before, like before Friday when I listened to it for the first time. And even then I was trying to like
I find so weird since
I'm not listening
around kids so much.
I get to listen to whatever I want, and Olivia Rodrigo just isn't it. And
don't they come in and they're like, herbs?
Oh, my students? Hell no. I'm not listening to this music they recommend. No. My classroom, I've been jamming the Bronx all week. They've had to listen to the Bronx. But yeah, no, this song is apparently super popular, and the way that it's like it can be tracked right now. I mean, it's only been around for a couple months, it sounds like.
Since May, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's made millions of dollars and stuff. I mean, this is the very example of let's take a Disney Channel star, let's write a few good songs for her, let's give her just a little bit of an edge, because I hear that pop punk is back, so maybe we'll make some pop punk songs for her. Let's make sure that her music is in that her music hits all the right music channels, right? Whether that be like it's some kind of sound crazy like a Spotify like blast somewhere, or it's literally on the radio at Kohl's, or like Disney Channel makes sure that the video is playing between episodes of like, I don't know, Muppet Babies or whatever. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like, or that the right influencers have access to it early. Like, the whole machine here has done what it's got to do to make sure that this is a pop song and that it makes all that money. I was kind of thinking about that, like, how many pop artists just didn't get into the machine this summer, but Olivia Rodrigo did for some reason. And then, like, I don't know, and she's making millions and millions and millions, and yet, like, there are people who like didn't get into the machine that played a role in it subconsciously or very intentionally. I do think they deserve a cut in that way. Like you say, like, people deserve to get paid for their creativity. But but is it to say that Paramore was being original when they came up with their Misery Business like hook too? Like,
I was speaking along those last lines. I was watching a video where there were previous cases of interpolation where the artist who was credited didn't make a big deal out of it because the song they created was interpolated from something else. So they're like, yeah, use it. Sure.
Well, I mean, Elvis Costello talks about that. The one song that Olivia Rodrigo ripped, he ripped from Bob Dylan and Chuck Berry.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes. That's, I mean,
so like, but he was like,
it's like, that's how we did it.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, that's how we did it. And then said hashtag Subterranean Homesick Blues and Too Much Monkey Business.
Awesome.
Like Bob Dylan and Chuck Berry songs that it influenced the song that Olivia Rodrigo took for her stuff.
Great.
Dane, I feel like you're you've rung the same bell a couple of times on your cynical nature with which you think music is written. Like the We Were Shark stuff. You're like, they wrote this song for a Capri Sun commercial.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just really cynical about like big music industry stuff, and I know that I don't know all of it, and I probably don't necessarily have it right, and I admit it. Like I know that a lot of this is my high school cynicism just bubbling back up, but I can't help but feel like it's a little bit weird when that there's a whole machine out there for some artists, and that other artists really have to scrape along. So
I also feel like this is a tough question for us to answer because everyone's having a hard time answering that question, especially, today's age where everything is so picked apart and stuff like that. And like we talked about the rise of social media. So it's a difficult question. And I don't think there's like a great answer, to be honest.
Can I say just that I think, ironically enough, the law is doing a good job here. And what I mean by that is like,
you love the law.
If the whole point is to if the whole point of like the legal system is to create like enough gray area that you can bump into walls to like get like it's not black or white. Nothing that goes into the legal system is black or white. That like you create enough things to like make people feel like, all right, blurred lines, that was a moment, that was an extreme of like clearly let's not do that again. Like I feel like it's doing what it's supposed to, and that like it's creating people to think twice about just straight ripping stuff off. And in that case, it's like working correctly.
Well, speaking of people straight ripping.
That's good.
No,
I like it. I approve.
You know what? That one wasn't bad.
Cut it.
No,
send it.
That wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. That wasn't
Print
bad.
it. The Bronx came out with a new record called The Bronx IV.
Nope.
He has no idea how to read Roman numerals.
Did I write it down wrong?
The Bronx IV was a few years ago. Yeah.
Hold on,
I don't even
boys.
think there was a Bronx IV.
No, there was.
There was a Bronx V. I don't think there was a Bronx IV.
This is the Bronx
maybe
6.
I'm wrong.
I had my eye in the wrong spot.
Well, I'm looking it up.
I know how to read Roman numerals, you son of a bitch.
Here comes the Bronx 3.
Chris, this is you had mentioned in a previous episode that this was something you were jamming. I believe this is you brought it to the table. So we're going to start with you today. Give us your impressions of the Bronx 6.
Can I say the beginning of my impressions with the Bronx was our drummer Brandon coming to practice after going to some show where the Bronx opened up, and he's like, "Have you guys checked out the Bronx? Because those guys kind of rip." And we hadn't. And then I like stumbled across their single Curb Feelers, and I was like, something awesome's happening here, and I don't know what it is. Man, do I really, really, really like this album. And I feel like I need to do a better job going into the back catalog of the Bronx and listening to more of their stuff. Because they've been around since 2001, which I didn't they popped up in this place or that place in terms of like, music and bands and things like that, but I never really listened to them. But this record is so much fun. Like, it's just this like dance between kind of big, huge rock and roll and faster punk rock. But like, I have a weird soft spot for like melodic singers, and I don't know what this guy's name is, but he does a really good job at being like, sometimes you're hitting a melody and sometimes you're not.
Sometimes
and when
you're
you're
not talk yelling.
It's kind of rad. But the things that I wrote down were, the first thing is Curb Feelers is without a doubt my favorite song on this record. Like, and I just love I've been obsessed with the idea in like writing a song of just taking one riff and using it in different ways to make an entire song. Like, just this idea that you don't have to do like something unique in the bridge and something unique in the verse, and then the chorus has to be this thing where it's like, like it's just one thing the entire time. I really enjoy that.
You got a riff that's a banger. Just ride it out, man.
I also love when bands do this the melody follows a guitar lead where it's like ba-na-da-da, where they sing along with it. For some reason, I think that's super awesome. Also, the music video for that song is they're in a motorcycle garage and they're all wearing Grease Monkey shirts.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, I don't know anything about the Bronx, but nothing is more on brand than them doing whatever they were doing inside of a motorcycle garage. And I don't know. I thought that was awesome.
I couldn't agree with you more.
The other thing I want to call out is the Watering the Well could be a Rolling Stone song. Like, it legitimately could be a Rolling Stone song. Moral of the story. And then, did you guys go and listen to El Mariachi, the Bronx?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go? I didn't listen to any of it, but I'm like desperate to do it at this point, where they put out a couple records as a mariachi band, which is just like, it's weird, but it's super awesome in the fact that it might be the most unique thing to do as a punk rock band, and be like, now we're gonna represent the culture that they feel like they're a part of, and they're gonna put out their songs or new songs as a mariachi band. I just thought that was super rad. But moral of the story is Bronx 6.
I don't even see that on Apple Music.
It's called El Bronx. Or
No, it's like Mariachi El Bronx or something like that.
Mariachi El Bronx.
And to be honest, like, I've heard more Mariachi El Bronx than actual Bronx, just because the fact that this crazy rock and roll band had made a mariachi album, and not like, a hardcore influenced mariachi album, like a mariachi album.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, like with trumpets and big guitars and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. So, yeah. Cool. Anyway, sorry, I totally interrupted.
Do you see how hard transitioning is, Dane? Look at you. You're stumbling over there.
Damn. Do you want me to get into my review? Do you have more, Chris?
I think so. No, I really, really enjoyed the hell out of this record, and now it's your turn.
Yeah, I have nothing really to add. A lot of what you said is exactly the same. I've bought albums by the Bronx for my brother for like our birthday and stuff. And my brother's been into the Bronx for a really long time. They are an interesting band because they're another like major label, dropped from their major label kind of band, like there's a lot of hype around them when they first got started. And I just, I don't know the story that well, and I haven't heard the music that much. I was expecting something from this album, and I think it surprised me by doing something really different. And
like what?
It's the classic rock vibe of some of these songs. Like, to me, Curb Feelers is probably one of my favorite songs. I really like the opening track, White Shadow. That Breaking News song that's a little bit faster is right up my alley. Those are the kinds of songs I was kind of expecting, just sort of like riffy guitars and kind of like intense vocals. And when I say intense, I didn't necessarily expect melodic, but it was pretty damn melodic, and there's lots of harmonies and stuff. What I didn't expect was songs like Peace Pipe or Jack of All Trades that felt like straight up I kept thinking of Kiss, to be honest.
Sure.
Like some of these songs are just straight up like Kiss songs, and I mean that in the good way, but I also mean that in the like Kiss played simple rock music that was kind of explosive, and the explosiveness and in your face wasn't necessarily part of the music. It was part of the energy behind it, I guess, or I don't know if that makes any sense. I feel like that's kind of the case with the Bronx and some of these slower songs too. So I really enjoyed this record. I will be listening to it a lot. And I'm glad that this was a good excuse to get into this band. I'm definitely going to go backwards too with you, Chris, and look at their back catalog.
Nobody else in the world is probably going to understand this, but is the Bronx more of a Dane band or more of an Allen band?
I always thought it was more of an Allen band, because I'm
asking now that you've listened to it critically. Is it?
Yeah.
Are they?
No, I think it's more of a both of us band. And for sure.
There's not. I know there's for the listeners. Dane is a twin. Alan is his twin brother. Alan's in some more. He's in a band called Holler House, and they are, by the way, fantastic. If you haven't checked them out, please do. He's more of a gritty kind of rock and roll guy, and at least in my impression.
Yeah, my brother's always liked heavier, sludgier, kind of doomier music than me, and sometimes crosses into that area that is just not my cup of tea. And
so that's why I'm curious if it's more of a Dane band now. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I always thought that this was more of an Alan band. Like if I put this on, I'd get 2 songs and be like, this is just too much. But man, this record's been on repeat a lot, along with the other records that I've been listening to this week that I mentioned earlier. This one I've been playing a lot more than the others, though.
You said Kiss, and in my notes I wrote down Judas Priest, like that same kind of like guitar heavy riffy parts with just like kind of like hair metal-y kind of vibes in there, which is interesting for them to kind of take a in some direction, like repackaging hair metal with punk rock in a lot of ways. I have to echo a lot of things you guys said. I feel like it was maybe I was a little cooler on it than you guys. I loved it, but there were some things that I was like, man, okay. But
you're an idiot.
Yeah, but Curb Feelers, like that, like that's the one I wrote down where I'm like, I'm like, hell yeah, well, let's do that song. I thought that the guitar was so well recorded in this record, like just like front and center. Like,
can I tell you that like I'm gonna spend a decent amount of time trying to model that?
Yeah,
guitar
please
tone.
Please do. I mean, whoever recorded guitars really had an ear for it, and really had some passion for making that sound good. I think inversely, for my money, the drums were like a little muddy. Like I was like, I actually like what this guy's doing on drums, but it was like everything sounded a little bit muddy to me. So I was like, I wish that they had, I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not a sound engineer, but just what it sounded like to me. And like I said, a little bit cooler on it overall. But Chris, where is this one going to sit for like, Rock and Roll Brunch songs for records for the year? I feel like it's going to be up there for you.
It's definitely going to be up there for me. I think I'm with Dane in that like it kind of surprised the hell out of me. It really did. Like, and what I'm wondering is like the further we go back in some of their older albums, the more that'll line up with my expectations. Like if this one's just I'm speculating, but like this one's more of a polished like rock and roll album, and maybe some of the older stuff is a little bit more like When You Start Losing Me or whatever. I have no idea, but this is definitely like one of the top albums, and to come out of this year for me, in that it sort of exceeded the weird expectations that I had it, and I think I had for it, and I think that makes it like
I did forget to ask. I apologize. Had you had any experience with the Bronx prior to, like, they've been around since 2001, 2002. Have you had any experience with them before? Neither had I.
No, and I did say that.
Me too.
But
well, you said no. But you said that Brandon, our drummer, brought it to your attention. But I'm saying, like, had you even stumbled across?
He's backpedaling. Don't worry.
He's definitely
it's fine. It's cool
because we both said very clearly that we had no experiences.
He's backpedaling. It's cool though.
No,
this is what hosts do. They've got a lot of stuff they got to do at the same time as the podcast. Might not always be listening.
Dead air. Did you have any experience with them, Josh? You didn't say it for yourself.
Fuck you, dude. Yeah, man. What do you want to hear, huh? No, I did not either.
Dane, I was just gonna say, this is like a very fest band too. Like they're like on the fest bill every year, and it's sort of weird. Like all three of us could probably say our favorite song by every fest headliner.
Yeah.
And not the Bronx,
It's weird. That's
weird.
It's just weird that they kind of escaped all of our radars.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Well, it's what's funny? It's not even an escape. It's an avoid. Like I was just like, I don't know about that band. Like they've come, like I've seen their name before, but I've just never had and with bands that I like, right? So you'd imagine that would go like, oh, it's this band. Well, I should check out this band. And for whatever reason, I've been like, I'm not going to do it.
See, that's what I'm saying. They haven't even come across my table before. I've never seen the word the Bronx before. Before this,
I've
that's what I'm
definitely
asking.
seen the name. I've seen the name.
See, are you backpedaling and apologizing now?
No, I think I said that before.
No, to me.
I wouldn't apologize.
I wouldn't expect it. Dane, where's this one going to sit for you for the year?
Feeling the same as Chris. Probably, I don't know, it could be a top 10 album for me this year. Probably going to be playing a lot more of the Bronx in the next few weeks, whether it's this record or going backwards a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I would say the same thing for me. Top 10, definitely the top half of the ones, especially the ones that we've reviewed this year. It's definitely up there.
It's definitely in the ones we reviewed this year. This one is definitely one of my favorite ones, probably.
That's what I'm. For
sure. Dane, I feel like you and I never really agree on albums.
It's weird.
Sometimes that's by design for the podcast too. Sometimes we're closer than it sounds. Probably, yeah.
We got to start picking more controversial records.
Or controversial ones.
This is why I think we need to do Sincere Engineer, because I know someone who's got a really bad opinion about female singers.
Is it a female singer?
Yeah.
Hold on. I honestly feel like you would probably like a Sincere Engineer better than, I don't know, 98% of punk female singers. And there, I said it. And you can take that to the bank.
It's still,
I will.
It's still a pretty low bar for punk female singers that Chris likes.
No, man, dude, she's so good. You guys,
that Chris likes. Likes.
Yes, I know. We're gonna get into this, and I'm just telling you now, we should do this one next. Yep.
Sneak peek. There we go. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of Rock and Roll Brunch. Chris, no, fuck you, Dane. Where can people find what you're up to on the internet?
Jetsam-flotsam at .bandcamp.com is a good place to start.
You guys just put out
a single.
A single?
Yeah, by this band called...
signed a new band.
Yeah, by Peroxide Blonde. They're a bunch of young go-getters from New York, and talking to them on the phone is like talking to like the thickest New York accent. I almost slipped into it. Like New York accent. It was like it's really funny. Yeah, it was a terrible accent on my part, but
really bad.
These young kids are very awesome. So dig on.
Cool.
Them. Yeah.
Awesome. Chris, what about you? Where can people check out what you're up to?
The Throwback Chicago Diet Camp.
Yep. No more shows. What can people be on the lookout for? Anything coming down the pipe?
We got a very, very big live stream for Halloween coming up. Hasn't been announced yet because we got a lot to work on.
We got so much to learn.
I can't tell you how excited I am for this one. This is going to be it's an artist series. We've been trying to do more artists.
Wait, is it the Misfits? Is it the Misfits? Tell me now. Just tell me.
It is not.
No, you are definitely. You are. Couldn't be farther off.
You couldn't. Apparently, Dane does no idea what we do.
No, he's not aware. He doesn't check in.
I still think that the Misfits. Some of the Misfits. Never mind. My theory is that the Misfits are closer to some of the bands you guys cover than some of the people that...
You're not wrong. We do yeah.
I was going to say, we do a cover of Dream Lover that was ripped from the Misfits. Yeah. So you're definitely not wrong, Chris, but it is not.
We interpolated it.
Yep.
For me...
circumvented.
For me, it is Rock and Roll Brunch. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you find your podcasts. Also, we are on YouTube, so please go there, check us out. We're on Instagram. You can find us at Rock and Roll Brunch, and shoot us an email, rockandrollbrunch@gmail.com. For Chris, for Dane, for Josh, that's gonna do it. Let me go ahead and just get that.